Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another fascinating section of Acts.
Definitely.
This time, we're looking at chapters 16 through 18.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, it's all about these early missionary journeys, right?
Yeah, things really start to take off here.
And we've got, like, historical stuff, theological perspectives,
Yeah.
even some personal reflections to help us understand what's going on.
Yeah, and I think you'll be surprised how much these ancient stories,
Yeah.
really resonate with the challenges and opportunities we face even today.
So we've got Paul, Silas, and Timothy, this dynamic trio.
Yeah, a real interesting mix of personalities.
Setting out, to spread the message.
Just spread the gospel, yeah.
But it's not exactly a smooth sailing trip, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, they're constantly being redirected, challenged, thrown into situations they probably never expected.
Like, talk about a wild ride, right? Okay, so let's start with this Macedonian call from chapter 16.
Right.
Paul's got this vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
A man begging for help.
A man from Macedonia.
And boom, their mission shifts.
Just as dramatic.
From Asia Minor to Europe.
Yeah. It's huge, like geographically, but also
absolutely
symbolically. So beyond just like a change in scenery,
right.
What's the significance here?
Well, this marks a turning point, right? Christianity starts to spread beyond its Jewish origins.
Okay.
And into the wider Gentile world. Just imagine the implications.
Wow.
A new audience, new cultural clashes, new ways of understanding the message of Jesus.
So they arrive in Philippi,
Uh-huh.
a Roman colony,
Right?
and who do they meet?
Well, they encounter Lydia, and she's described as a dealer in purple cloth.
Purple cloth. What's the significance there?
Well, in those days, that meant she was a successful, influential businesswoman. Not exactly who you'd picture as the first European convert.
Well, not who you think would be, first in line
side.
to embrace, this new faith. Yeah. So Lydia's conversion challenges our assumptions about who is receptive to the gospel.
Interesting.
It really suggests that God's message can resonate with anyone.
Right.
Regardless of their social standing, their profession.
So it's really about an open heart, right?
Absolutely. And her story becomes this, powerful example of how personal testimony can open hearts to faith.
Okay. But then things get a little rough, don't they?
Yeah. Things take a turn.
Paul and Silas get arrested.
Yeah.
For casting a demon out of a slave girl.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. Why would that land them in trouble?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does. You'd think, good deed of the day, right?
You'd think so.
So what's the deal?
Well, here's where the economic and religious realities of the Roman world kind of collide. The girl's owners were exploiting her, basically, using her supposed prophetic abilities to make money.
Got it.
So when Paul frees her from the demon, he disrupts their business.
Unintentionally, but still.
Right. But it has consequences.
Yeah. And those consequences are pretty brutal. They end up beaten, imprisoned.
Yeah. It's a grim scene.
It is. And yet we're told they start singing hymns.
Yeah. Imagine that.
In their cell.
Just incredible.
Well, what do we make of that? Is this just like blind optimism in the face of suffering?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It reflects, I think, a profound understanding of their faith.
Okay.
For Paul and Silas, even in chains, their identity is rooted in something bigger than their circumstances.
And it's that unwavering faith that sets the stage, right, for what happens next.
Yeah, this is where things get really dramatic.
Because, there's an earthquake.
An earthquake.
The prison doors fly open.
The chains fall off.
And the jailer.
Oh, the jailer.
He thinks everyone's escaped.
Yeah, he's in a panic.
And he's about to take his own life.
Can you imagine the chaos?
I know. It's intense.
But it's also this incredible moment of conversion, isn't it?
Yeah, because Paul stops him.
He does. And then the jailer, terrified, facing the consequences, he asks this ultimate question, what must I do to be saved?
Yeah.
And their answer...
It is so simple.
It's striking in its simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household.
Wow. From despair to salvation, all in the space of, these chaotic moments.
It's a powerful reminder of how God can work, right?
Yeah.
Through even the most difficult circumstances.
Okay, so what happens next? Where does their journey take them from here?
Well, let's dive into that next.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
Well, from Philippi, Paul and Silas, they journey on to a city called Berea. And it's interesting because they find quite a different reception there.
Oh. How so?
Well, these Bereans, they're described as noble-minded because of how they engage with the message.
So they didn't just, take Paul at his word.
Yeah. No, they were very discerning.
Yeah.
They listened intently, but then they went back and they cross-checked Paul's teachings against their own scriptures.
So they were really committed to understanding the truth for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
And it's a powerful example, I think, for all of us.
Oh, for sure.
It's about being an active learner.
Right.
Like when it comes to matters of faith, not just blindly accepting what you're told.
Yeah.
But engaging critically and thoughtfully with the message.
Right. So intellectual curiosity can actually strengthen faith.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bereans, they demonstrate that, it's not about undermining faith.
Right.
It's about delving deeper, asking those questions.
Yeah, seeking that understanding.
Yeah.
And speaking of seeking understanding, I mean, Paul's time in Athens, that's got to be a whole other level, right?
It really is. I mean, think about it. Athens was like the intellectual hub of the ancient world, right? Full of philosophers steeped in pagan tradition. It's a completely different environment.
So how does Paul even begin to approach such a different audience? I mean...
Well, Paul, being Paul, he adapts. He meets them on their own ground,
Okay.
He doesn't launch into, a fire and brimstone sermon or anything.
Right.
Instead, he goes to the Areopagus, right? The public square where all the philosophical debates were happening.
Uh-huh.
And he quotes their own poets. He uses their concept of an unknown God as a bridge to introduce the God of Christianity.
That's brilliant. It shows a deep respect for their culture, right? And a willingness to connect with people where they are.
Absolutely. It's about meeting people where they are, both intellectually and spiritually.
So Paul's approach in Athens, it's really like a masterclass in contextualization.
It really is, yeah.
But I mean, talk about change of pace from the intellectual debates of Athens to Corinth.
Corinth is a whole other world.
It is. This bustling commercial center, but also known for, well...
For its moral laxity, let's be honest.
Exactly.
So it presents a new set of challenges.
And yet, it's in Corinth, where he meets Aquila and Priscilla.
Right.
Tent makers, just like Paul.
Yeah, kindred spirits.
They become so vital to his ministry.
They do. And I think, their partnership highlights how important community is.
Yeah.
Collaboration, right? Yeah. Spreading the gospel. Paul, even with his boldness, his charisma, he recognizes the need for support.
Yeah.
Encouragement, right?
Yeah.
And shared labor.
Right.
In this work of ministry. So Aquila and Priscilla, they really become these key figures.
But even with this strong community, there's still opposition.
Oh, yeah. Paul faces fierce opposition in Corinth.
It seems every step forward, there's some kind of pushback.
It's true. I mean, but Paul's perseverance...
I know, it's incredible.
...is fueled by this deep conviction, that he's been called by God. I mean, he faces trials, rejection.
But he remains steadfast.
He does. And, he spends over a year in Corinth.
Really?
Yeah. Establishing a church, demonstrating that even in a city, known for its resistance to change, the gospel can take root.
So what can we learn from Paul's response to these setbacks and challenges?
Well, his story teaches us that resilience, it's not about avoiding difficulty. It's about how we respond to it.
Yeah.
He never backed down from sharing his faith, even when it meant hardship.
Even persecution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And his life really demonstrates that, true strength comes from that unwavering belief.
That commitment to something bigger than oneself.
Yeah, and there's a real grit to his story, isn't there?
There is. And it's not like a romanticized version of missionary work.
No, not at all.
It's messy. It's full of conflict.
It's real.
But it's also incredibly inspiring.
Yeah. And it's that blend of, the raw and the inspiring, I think, that makes Paul's journey so relatable even today. I mean, we see him wrestling with doubt,
right,
facing fear.
But ultimately, finding the courage to press on.
Yeah. His experience reminds us that faith isn't the absence of struggle. It's the strength to persevere through it.
So from, the intellectualism of Athens to the grit of Corinth, Paul's journey takes us through a whirlwind of experiences.
It does. It shows us the different ways that the gospel can take root.
And that faith can be lived out.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here? What awaits Paul as he continues his mission?
Well, that's what we'll explore next.
Okay, looking forward to it. We've seen Paul adapt his message in Athens, build community in Corinth. It's been quite a journey. But where does the road lead him next?
Well, after Corinth, things take a kind of a more reflective turn, He travels through Macedonia, Greece,
Okay.
visiting the churches he's planted.
So kind of like checking in on everyone. Right?
Exactly, offering encouragement,
Oh.
solidifying those connections.
Yeah, that sense of connection must have been crucial, especially back then, right, with these early Christian communities.
Absolutely. And this idea of unity amidst diversity, it's a theme that runs through these chapters,
How so?
Well, Paul constantly emphasizes breaking down those barriers.
Okay.
Social, cultural, theological, whatever.
Right, right. But then he makes a decision that seems, well, a little risky.
Yeah.
He decides to go back to Jerusalem,
Right,
even though he knows it could be dangerous.
It's a bold move.
Why would he do that?
Well, I think it shows his dedication, right,
Mm-hmm.
to the wider Christian community.
Yeah, okay.
He's carrying a collection, actually, funds from the Gentile churches for the believers in Jerusalem.
I see. So kind of like a gesture of support?
Yeah, they were facing poverty, persecution.
Right, right. So a real tangible expression of solidarity.
Yeah, a way to bridge that gap
Between the Jewish and Gentile branches.
Exactly.
But it doesn't exactly go smoothly, does it?
Unfortunately not. I mean, while some Jewish believers welcomed him, others, they were suspicious.
Of his ministry to the Gentiles.
Yeah, they accused him of violating Jewish law, and things escalated quickly.
Oh, no. So he ends up arrested.
By the Roman authorities, yeah.
It seems like opposition just follows him wherever he goes.
It's a recurring theme for sure.
But this time it feels different,
The stakes are higher.
Yeah. So what happens?
Well, he's accused of, inciting a riot, profaning the temple.
Those are serious charges.
They are. And this imprisonment, unlike, back in Philippi,
right,
it drags on.
So it is a long ordeal.
It is.
It's almost tragic, after all his efforts, all the lives he's touched.
There's definitely a sense of injustice there,
It's like the system is working against him.
Yeah. But even in prison, his spirit doesn't break.
He's remarkable.
He uses this time to write, actually. Some of his most powerful letters.
Like to the Ephesians.
Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Philemons.
Wow.
They become foundational texts, really.
So even in confinement, his influence continues to spread.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's a reminder that even when, our plans are disrupted, we can still contribute.
Still make a difference.
Exactly.
So looking back at this whole journey through chapters 16 to 18, what are the key takeaways for you?
Well, I think the biggest one is that, faith isn't passive.
Right.
It's an active engagement, a willingness to step outside our comfort zones,
right.
to embrace challenges.
And to stay connected.
Yes, to a community, to find that strength, that support.
Paul's journey wasn't a solo act.
No, it was a collaborative one.
Yeah.
So many individuals working together.
It's a testament to the power of faith in action.
And it's a call, I think, to embrace the joys, the hardships,
The unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah, exactly. It's about following a path that challenges us.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Acts chapters 16 through 18, what's one thing you want to leave our listeners with?
Think about this. How can we, like Paul, find that courage to bridge divides, to engage thoughtfully with different cultures and perspectives? How can we persevere in our own journeys, even when the road ahead is uncertain? It's a question worth pondering.
It certainly is. And with that, we'll bring this deep dive to a close. Thanks for joining us, everyone.